Now let's talk about the operations job market. On the operations job market, the schools or recruiters are looking for some new colleagues who can address their certain research or teaching needs. For example, I've talked about the very trendy business analytics programs. A lot of schools are hiring because they want someone who could teach in these programs. Because you are going to potentially be their colleague for their entire life, they want to have someone who are good colleagues and who could fit in personality in this group. They are also going to find who are good researchers who could deliver good and impactful research. Of course, they need good teachers that could do well in classrooms. Therefore, your goal as a job market candidate is to have yourself visible to recruiting committees and convince them that you can well address their needs, you will be a good and likable colleague, you can do impactful research, and you will excel in classrooms. The academic job market has overwhelming uncertainties, mainly because for one tenure-track position in operations management, there are in general more than 100 candidates competing for that single position. So a candidate is in general limited by his or her weakest attributes because there are a lot of candidates who do well in all aspects. And there is a strong winner-take-all effect, which means some job market stars will have a lot of offers, 5 to 10 offers, whereas some job market candidates can have no offer at all. This is because the same pool of candidates will apply to the same set of schools, so they will compete for multiple times at different schools. It's very likely that one candidate will dominate another in every school. So let me first give you some general advices for the pre-job market stage, which means the first 4 years of your PhD study. The most important advice I have for you is to be an early bird. The most important thing to be on the job market and do good on the academic job market is to have a strong CV that has strong publications and research records. But a strong CV takes years to build because of the uncertain nature of research, so you should start early. Take myself as an example. I started to work with my advisor starting from when I just arrived at the PhD program, and I got my first paper submitted to journals for publication at the middle of my second year in my PhD study. A strong CV is not sufficient to secure a good job in academia. You also have to develop your communication skills because you need to convince the schools that you are a good teacher, you are a good researcher, and you are a good colleague. How about when you are already on the job market stage? I also have some advices for you. The first is that you have to devote all yourself into this process of searching for an academic job because the academic job market is really highly competitive and you should be highly devoted therein. You should also apply broadly because you never know what will be happening on the market, and applying broadly will give you more opportunities. Take myself as an example. I applied to 99 schools when I was on the market, and fortunately, I got an offer. You should also rehearse your job talks as well as conference talks as many as possible because practice makes perfect, and having good talks is crucially important for the recruiting committee to judge your research impact as well as your teaching potential. Now let me walk you through the journey towards a faculty position on the academic job market in operations management. First, you need to apply and send out applications when the postings are available. Then you are going to have some conference or Skype interviews with the recruiting committee. Usually in our field, it's the informed conference. In the conference interviews, You are going to have about 30 minutes to discuss very casually with the recruiters about your past research, your future research, as well as your teaching. Then the recruiting committee will select a small number of candidates for campus interviews, which we call flyouts. In the flyouts, you are going to deliver a 1-hour job talk to all the faculty members in the department. Finally, they will decide which candidates to make an offer, and if you are fortunate enough to have multiple offers, you are going to decide which one to take. Let me start with the application. My main piece of advice, except for applying to as many as possible schools, is that you should submit your application before conference interview deadlines. Because you need to have yourself very visible to the recruiting committee. Conference interview is a very good opportunity to increase your visibility. During the conference interviews, you will have some casual conversations with the recruiting committee, but the interview questions are highly structured and predictable. You are very likely to be asked about the following 3 questions. What is your current research, which talks about what you have done in your PhD study? What is going to be your future research, which asks about your future research agenda in the next 5 to 10 years? And what is your teaching experience and interests, which asks about whether you are going to be a good fit for their educational programs. So you should prepare the answers towards these interview questions very well and have them well rehearsed. It is also possible that your conference talks will be attended by representatives of the recruiting committees, so please prepare your conference talks well as well. Because the conference interviews are of casual nature, the main job for you is to engage the recruiters with your research, your teaching, and most importantly, yourself. After the conference interviews, the recruiting committee will meet and decide which of the few candidates they will invite for flyouts. So at this stage, the quote-unquote alive candidates will drop from a magnitude of more than 100 to a magnitude of about 5. So it's really crucial for you to secure some flyouts in order to get an offer from these institutes. The main advice I have for you is that you should try to contact or ask your advisors to contact professors wherever possible, so that you can use your personal connections to increase your possibility of getting a flyout in some good universities. This is quite natural from the recruiting committee's perspectives. When facing hundreds of nameless applications from nameless job market candidates, it is very natural for the recruiting committee to give priority and more attention to those they know and those who have been recommended by the professors they know. In the conference interview, you are going to have the opportunity to deliver a 1-hour job talk. This is a crucial event in the job talk. If you do well in the job talk, you may not get an offer, but if you mess your job talk up, you will certainly not be able to get an offer. In a job talk, you have to convince the recruiting committees that you have done great research in the past, you are going to do very exciting research in the future, and you are a charismatic scholar and teacher. So there are 3 pieces of information I have for you to prepare for the job talk. First, you should do the job talk as if you are telling an interesting story to your friends. So you should make your technically dense job talk as accessible as possible. You should also handle questions and interruptions gracefully. The last thing you want to do is to offend the recruiting committee members that ask questions that quote-unquote seem to be stupid. Finally, please keep close track of the time. If you run over time in a job talk, the recruiting committee is going to predict that you are going to run over time in your actual classes as well, which is really bad. You will also have some 30-minute one-on-one meetings with individual faculty members in the department. You should be doing well in that because you have already had a lot of individual interviews in the conference. As soon as the recruiting committee flies in all the shortlisted candidates, they will decide which offers to make. If you are fortunate enough to have more than one offers, then you will have the opportunity to decide which offer to take. Let me now list a few important criteria for you to think about which offer to take. The first one is location. This is the only thing that a school cannot change. So you should be sure that you will be living happily in this location and your family is also going to be happy. The second thing is the colleagues. Interviews are not just for them to judge whether you are going to be a good colleague. You should also judge whether they are going to be good colleagues for you because you are potentially going to be staying there for the entire life. A junior faculty member's main task is to get tenure, so it's important for you to think about the tenure cases there. What are their tenure bars and whether the tenure cases are evaluated fairly. Finally, we should think about research support. If you want to be on the job market again a few years later, a main determinant of your job search outcome will be your research output and research productivity. So you should be sure that this university is going to provide a good research support for you. For example, do they have good research environments? Do they have a lot of research seminars? Are the colleagues research active? Also, is the department going to provide you enough necessary research funding? Will the teaching load and service load be reasonable so that you can have enough to develop your own research program? In summary, academic job market in operations management is highly competitive, so it is suggested that you devote all yourself in this process. You should start early, both in terms of building up your CV and applying for the jobs. You should also apply broadly so that you can have enough opportunities. You may want to contact professors wherever possible to increase your chance in the market. When you have multiple offers, please think really carefully about whether to go because it's going to affect your entire career and life. This is all that I have for you. Thank you very much for watching. You are always more than welcome to reach out to me and to download a related article on this topic.